another episode of BMBA Boss Moves with Business Acumen. We are BMBA Investment Group. I got my other hosts. I got Trey.
What's
what up,
going
Trey?
on, Charles?
Chilling. We got Moses in the house too. What's up?
What's good, fam?
What's good, brother? Man, we're gonna get right into it. We got a lot going on in the United States economy, particularly, but as we know, the global economy. Particularly, something that's an article I just saw on Vox.com kind of deals with Airbnb. So Airbnb and that whole sharing economy. What happened is that Airbnb actually laid off 25% of its workforce.
Man, that's huge.
That's big, man. Like a fourth of its workforce. And they call that, according to them on Vox.com, they said that's a really bad sign for the tech sector. So, the reason is basically that they've only achieved about half of the revenue that they achieved after this same amount of time in 2019. So, it's only so much time that a company can go before they have to, start cutting the fat and trimming. And unfortunately, that's going to be the people that work there. They're going to have to start cutting jobs. Have you guys seen any difference with Airbnbs being available, or are they strictly talking about in their offices?
And I don't see them actually trimming back in terms of the supply. I know you're still able to, put everything on Airbnb and still able to get everything on the market. Only thing about it is they're vacant. Just like these hotels around here, for the most part, they're vacant. You still have a few people traveling, but not really. See, the only problem really with that, I know a couple people who Airbnb, but they might Airbnb their home on the weekends or something, or when they're traveling, they might Airbnb their home just to kind of make a couple extra dollars. But for the people who really got it in the business for Airbnb, this is really going to hurt them. That's why the economy has to pick back up and the travel has to pick back up. Because think if you went out and bought, 3 or 4 homes just to Airbnb them out. Now you're not bringing in any kind of income for 2 months. We're already going on 6-7 weeks out of stay-at-home order. So if you're not going to bring in anything for 2 months and you got 4, 5, 6 homes that you bought just to Airbnb out, you can't. It's going to be hard to find a renter if you want to rent them out for a long-term rental, like a year or more. It's going to be hard to find that within the next month or two. You know what I'm saying? For all 4, 5, 6 of your homes. So it's going to be a lot of foreclosures, I think. Just kind of what I see, I think it's going to be a whole lot of foreclosures coming about, really. Unless people have, done their savings and really kind of, stacked up for a rainy day like this. Other than that, it's going to be a lot of cheap homes on the market, which, of course, that's what every correction and every recession really brings to the market is cheap goods. So cheap assets so you can buy them up and, they'll appreciate later.
That's right. And with the foreclosures, that is creating opportunities for certain people of a certain income level, or people who have saved up for a time like this to kind of go and either purchase a rental property or even, refinance their homes. This is the time to do all of those things because of the way the market is, the housing market, and the rates in which the loans are right now, they're really low. So I think this is definitely the perfect time.
That is very true. All I was going to say is the only thing about that is you're going to make sure like you said, you have to have those cash reserves stacked up because a lot of those deals really are cash offers. So that's the only thing about that. A lot of people don't have just ready cash, and then the banks, they might not be giving out loans, at least right now, just like they were. So, but go ahead, Charles.
Yeah, that's a good point. The banks are actually making it a little bit more difficult for home loans, for credit cards, for everything. They know that in a time of economic disaster, what some people do is get lines of credit, run it up, and then go bankrupt. So they get those things to survive whatever economic issues they're having, and they run it up, and then they just file Chapter 7, file Chapter 11, something like that. But the point I was gonna make with this article from Vox.com, what they said about Airbnb is that the largest sector of Airbnb affected right now are those luxury homes that that they typically have listed. And those are the ones with the mortgages are the most,
Absolutely.
right? So they're really not, not only are they not getting a return on their investment, but they're having to pay that mortgage for months on end at this time. The article also mentioned Uber, which is another part of the sharing economy. They're considering laying off 20% of their staff. They haven't pulled the trigger yet. They're considering laying off 20% of their staff, and Lyft already laid off 17% of their staff. So that sharing economy is getting hit right now, like super hard. And those are the ones that were doing the best, right before this stuff happened. Uber was about to go, Uber did go public. Airbnb was about to go public this year or first quarter next year.
And see, the thing about those companies, like the sharing economy and everything, they really don't own assets. So when you're talking about Airbnb doesn't own homes. Uber does not own cars. You understand what I'm saying? So at least maybe during hard times, you can sell off some of your assets and be able to get some cash reserves in and be able to sustain throughout the whole pandemic or whatever. But now when you really don't have assets, you understand what I'm saying? You really ain't got nothing to sell, really have no value right now.
You just stuck between a rock and a hard place. It's almost like the service industry. If people not coming to restaurants and not paying for food to be made, it's almost the same type deal. You got nothing to sell off. You just get rid of the hardline workers you have, which is people that work in the customer service part or some of the tech part of your company. That's basically the people you have to let go.
Right about that. I think that's why the government is trying to go ahead and implement some kind of relief, which they have done since mid-April. It's kind of started out in which they have, had that stimulus plan.
But what have you guys heard about? And I know Mo, you were talking about this earlier. Maybe you kind of explained. Or I think Charles, what's going on with having to maybe pay this stimulus money back? Any kind of word on that?
Moses, if you can tell us a little bit about that CARES Act, tell us about that first, and then we'll get into some of the misconceptions, because there were a couple misconceptions. You're right about having to pay it back, and it's not really, it's not as free as you think. You saw a lot of articles and YouTube videos and things of that nature. But Moses, tell us a little bit more about that CARES Act and what it.
Yeah, definitely. So, this is a tax stimulus plan here, and just anything that has to do with tax-related things, it can always cause some confusion. So, the CARES Act is simply the Corona Aid, Relief, and Economic Security. And what you get, you're going to get a check, but in order to get one, you must have a Social Security number or a Social Security alternative, and it's all based on your 2018 taxes. So they started to kind of send out checks or direct deposits mid-April. So direct deposit is usually the fastest way to get your money. So a lot of those people got theirs faster than those people sending out checks.
Right.
And you're going to get $1,200 for a single adult and $2,400 if you're married. And on top of that, if you have a child, you get $500 per child, which all this is helpful. But like we mentioned in our last episode, depending on the area that you live in, it shows how much that money can stretch. So but there are phase outs because it's all based on how much you're making. So if an individual's making $75,000 or less, they're going to get the full amount. That $1,200 if you're a single adult, or $2,400 if you're married. $150,000 if you're joint, for joint returns, and $112,500 if you had a household. So anything that's $100 over that income threshold, it's gonna deduct your check about $5. So there's some games they got with that, but it does deduct about $5. And this is all based off of adjusted gross income, your AGI, which is non-taxable income. So there are limits, but there are not any limits on how many kids you have. So we're gonna edit that part. Hold on one second.
I was gonna say it is a limit on that.
Yeah.
I think up to 2 kids or up to 3.
I think it's 3 kids.
3 kids.
So
okay.
the limits. But the you have to be at least 16 or under in order to have a child under this act.
Okay.
And they treat it as a child tax credit. So as long as you're providing half of the support of the child isn't working and providing all their own support, and as long as the child has lived with you for about more than 6 months, more than half the year. So and a lot of people get confused on if they need anything to file. So most of the things, the IRS already has your information. They know what you did last year if you file your taxes.
Right.
And then technically, this is just an advance on the 2020 taxes. This is like a temporary tax credit. It won't affect the normal 2020 income, or if you get a refund in 2020. This is just on top of that refund.
So I think that's the language that's confusing to most people. There it is, right there. That's what's confusing, because it sounds like it's going to be taken out of your 2020, tax refund. But when you talked about the credits, I think it does kind of affect, if there's an extra child tax credit, it's going to come from that.
Okay.
So I think there's the part of it that's
confusing everybody. Okay, that makes
confusing. Yeah, and I see why. It's real confusing.
But the one thing that's important is you do not have to pay this income, this check back.
Cool.
Whatever you're getting from the government due to this COVID-19 advance, you get to keep. So it's just an advance on your 2020. And like I mentioned, this is all based on your last year's taxes, what you filed last year. And if you don't file a tax return, say you get Social Security, the bill allows for the Treasury to use your info from your Social Security in order to
they get their check too.
Be safe on that.
That's what's interesting.
Yeah, that's automatic too. It's automatic. They don't have to file at all. So to back up what we were saying about that, I went and checked on factcheck.org, and it says the stimulus checks that you receive will not reduce future tax refunds.
Okay. There it is.
And that,
right.
Yeah, there it is. Factcheck.org. If you believe that, that's what it says. And to be clear, that stimulus was a $2 trillion stimulus. Let that sink in your head for a minute. Everybody, a moment of silence.
Right, exactly. With a T. with a capital T. Right? But this is my thing. Let me ask you guys this. Okay, knowing that our currency is really just fiat money, of course, it's not backed by anything. Where does this stop? Because every time they do these, and of course, I'm glad they did it. We needed it. But every time they do it, you're weakening the dollar. So the dollar gets devalued. Eventually, it's going to become nothing. And the way it's going, the way things go, just like I was talking about with the Airbnb and people with the foreclosures, we'll mess around and have another subprime mortgage crisis type of thing. The next thing you know, you're going to have to bail out the banks with another $2 trillion, $3 trillion. Where does it end? You understand what I'm saying? And then what do you go to after that? What are we going to be, a barter economy? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right. I got 3 seashells.
Hey, I'm glad you brought that up, Trey. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's really important. It's called quantitative easing. And so when they inject all this imaginary money into the economy, basically print money, it makes our dollar, shoot to the floor. And so far, our dollar, we really don't know why it's still been okay. It just started showing signs of weakening in the last 2 weeks. Because during all of this, even when they were paying all this money out, when they announced it, all of this, the dollar was still strong beside all the other currencies. So it still was relatively. Now, recently it started falling, like against the Swiss franc, against the euro, always against the euro. But it started falling more against those things and against those other currencies. And I think we're going to see it start in free fall. Because I mean, just think about it. You cannot, if you just continuously inflating the
Right.
currency, like your money is not going to
Right.
buy anything.
You're
And the
right.
only solution they
Easy
say there
price.
is for that is gold. And because gold is crazy, it's heavy, you can't lug it around, you can't really have it in every bank, you can't back it like that. You have to use cryptocurrency to tokenize gold. So mark my words, people think it's just like, you know, some crazy thing that nobody really understands. Crypto is going to go the way of the internet.
Makes sense.
Back in the day, when you said something about the internet in the early 90s, the 80, 88, 89, 90, 91, when it started kind of rolling, nobody knew what the internet was. I saw some old news stories. They were like,
Right,
what is
right.
the internet? What does it mean? Stuff flowing through the air? It was
Right.
hilarious. It's gonna go like, it's gonna be pervasive in our society. And if you watch, so I'd like really study all of every mention of crypto, every mention of tokenization, every mention of settlement funds through banks and CBDCs, which are central bank digital currencies. Like every mention of all of that, I look for that stuff. And this stuff has increased by thousands of percent. The mentions, you know, by these government entities, by these backroom dealers. Everybody talking about the economy is talking about how we're going to have to tokenize our currency, and it's going to be a fact of life. So it's just something that's coming. Now, what we don't really know is what they're going to use, but we know it's not going to be Bitcoin. Unfortunately, Bitcoin doesn't have the technology. Bitcoin is like Netscape. Remember when Netscape came out? They was first to the party. You know,
the first ones,
and where they go, you know what I mean?
Right.
Where are they going?
Right. Bitcoin probably will have a whole other function. I'm not saying it's not going to be valuable, because even like just today, Bitcoin went up like 6 or 7%.
Right. It's shooting up right now.
It might be. Yeah, it's almost back to 10,000. You know, last week it was 6 or 7. So it's going to be part of it, but it's not going to be what we use for, you know, the central banks and the Treasury and the Federal Reserve. It's a whole lot of moving parts that, like, it's very hard to simplify it. But what we just gotta know right now is that that's gonna be our future. And that's gonna be the way we avoid having this 2008 stuff every few years and having to make up all this funny money, all this imaginary money every time.
But you're talking about having it backed by gold, right?
Well, yeah. But see, you would think that's something totally separate. But the reason why it's not is because in today's world, if something is backed by gold, you have to have a way that you can put it on a ledger. You have to have a way to kind of tokenize gold.
I definitely understand what you're saying, but this is my only thing. If you have it backed by gold, that gives other countries a whole lot more leverage and power. Because I mean,
depends on how much gold
exactly, and they really probably got more than we do. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. That's what people think. But I mean, from other things I've read, it's saying that we've been secretly buying up all the gold around the world for the last 20 years.
I can imagine that.
So I don't know. That might give them. That might. You're right. And you know what? China right now, I think on May 5th or May 6th, they are the first one. They jumped out with the digital yuan.
Damn, I didn't know that.
Digital yuan. They're first. They're first to market. Now we didn't want
what
that.
Is a digital yuan?
That's their digital currency. So that's a CBDC.
Okay.
That's a central bank digital
and
currency.
I think
every country's gonna have one.
And I didn't mean to cut your wisdom, but I was just gonna say I think that's really what they've been waiting on. I think that's why, you know, the digital currencies just haven't taken off and haven't been completely legitimate just yet. They have to find a way almost to stabilize it and almost to really control it, because you can't put, you know, you got to put the power of that in the country's hands. So it looks like, you know, with all the stretching of the dollar and the dollar stretched in, I think that gives them a way to really kind of switch over to this currency. But it's just good. It's just going to be funny to see, kind of how they do it, backed by gold or backed by, backed by the weapon, backed by the pistol, which is what it's backed by now. Right.
Right. By
the confidence. Right.
Confidence,
yeah. Use it or I'll blow your head off.
That is funny.
But as I was saying, like, as far as China being the first to jump out there with their digital currency, like I have been reading articles for the last year that's saying China, because China has something like, 100 different patents on different cryptocurrencies and different blockchain technologies. And so we were way behind as far as just, if you just look at the patents, you can tell like what countries are doing or what countries are doing what or whatever. And I think the United States only had like a few dozen patents. So that showed that China was really serious about this a year and a half ago, right? So while we were still trying to get our heads around Bitcoin and is it legitimate, and then what changed everything is that Facebook coin. What was it called? Libra?
Yeah, it's called Libra.
When Facebook jumped out there and said, we're going to do this coin, we don't need like your support, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and they pulled them in. That like really told our government like, oh shit, this is real. And it's going to happen whether we want it to or not. So that's
you think it happened when Facebook got their coin?
Well, they never pushed it off because they got bogged down with regulation. But that showed the government, okay, we need to get on board with this and not be behind.
I think the government has been on board before Facebook because the government, they always want their hand in it, right?
Right.
So as long as they find a way to tax it, they can get their cut from it.
Mm-hmm. And that's what it's been all about for the last 2 or 3 years. Regulation.
That's what it's always
There was no regulation. That was why they had to slow it down, and they couldn't, they had to act like they hated Bitcoin. They had to act like Bitcoin was for
fake
criminals and was fake and this.
Right.
And that. Remember, that's what used to be in the news a year and a half ago. Yep, that was all in the news.
Terrorism. Right.
That's it.
Trump said that himself.
And now look at them. Now everybody has their own coin, which is also contributing to the price of Bitcoin going down and the strength of it, the value of it. But we've always been behind as a country when it comes to technology.
Not always.
And forward thinking. You don't think so?
No, I don't think so.
We've always been trying to chase China.
I think we've always been. We were at one time. We were always right there with China, and we were always pushing the envelope with exploration, with getting to the moon, with sending Sputnik up. But a big part of it. Teddy Roosevelt, when he was like such an adventurer, so to speak. He like wanted to lead the country to to be ahead of everybody, and all the presidents to some of the earlier presidents to some degree. But I think only in the last 20, 30-ish years we kind of start really falling behind.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
20, 30 years. That's when I've been really alive.
Because if you go to China, bro, if you go to China,
that's what
it's
I like, bro.
Suggestions,
bullet trains and all type of stuff.
Hey, what y'all doing? Have y'all ever watched that?
I have
y'all
not.
ever watched the show Westworld?
Yes.
How about the new season, Mo?
I haven't seen the new season.
Okay.
But I've seen the first season and I think part of the second.
If you watch the new season,
what's it about?
Are going like
is that season 3?
Well, Westworld. Not to get off on too much of a tangent, because I like sci-fi, but Westworld started off. It's from an old show where there was this theme park, right? In the theme park is populated by robots. But they don't look like robots. They look like people. They're human. They're straight up AI. They look like straight up. There's no way you would ever know unless you like cut one of them open and looked inside it. And then there's some parts that seem organic. They got blood, but they're robots. They got their machinery under there. So the whole first couple seasons is about these AI becoming like conscious and sentient. How movies always go that direction. Like, can they think? Do they live? Do they? So I think we're going there too, and we're gonna see something like that. But anyway, the whole first couple seasons was about them becoming sentient and knowing they're alive and wanting to be free, because they're kind of enslaved. So they're kind of slaves to humans' desires. People pay like $20,000 a day to come in this park and rape people, kill people, have gunfights, and
whatever they want.
Do whatever they want to do. Just the darkest part of the human, of the human, basically. And so they start, they're like, man, like they feel like slaves. They feel like, yo, this is all they do to us. So they start being kind of sentient and wanting to get out.
All right.
So this newest season, they done got out into the real world, and they blend in. And the world is set in Singapore, because I think a bunch of countries, it's like in 2050 or 2060 or something like that. A bunch of the countries around the world have been like destroyed. But in Singapore, there's like a personal score. In China right now, today, they have a social score. The cameras pick you up all around the country, and if you don't have a certain social score, you can't work here, you can't do it. It's like that in Westworld. And I didn't know China was already like that.
They said the facial recognition cameras off the chain in China.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I mean, they said they picking up on that shit. But let me ask y'all a question though. I mean, since I don't want to get too much of a tangent, but it really is on the same thing. We talking about digital currency and currencies of the future. So I mean, it's just not too far off. I mean, I know we've been so distracted by coronavirus and everything. Did y'all see where the government declassified videos of UFOs? Hey, bro, stuck it in on the low. Stuck it in on the low.
They did.
Right. Let's go.
They did it during Corona on purpose.
Right.
On purpose. Corona's a big enough distraction. People ain't worried about that.
Bro, I laughed so hard when that came out.
I said, we been knew that.
But see,
but
it's funny.
Y'all been hiding.
It's funny though, because all of this stuff like happened in April, and I started seeing the memes. I reposted the meme. It was like, congratulations, you've reached the 4th level of Jumanji and shit. I was like, damn.
I did see that.
You got UFOs. You got a world, a killing virus. You got all this other craziness happening. I was like, these people that actually declassify UFOs.
Right on it with videos, not just declassified documents and transcripts. No, actual video of the UFOs.
Right. They said this is the perfect time to unleash this information while people are dying of a disease that's an everyday thing. Nobody's thinking about a spaceship from
unless it got the cure to corona. We ain't
right in.
They probably do.
They probably do. It's just if we're gonna have access to it.
Hey, it's crazy because nobody really reacted.
I'm telling you, people like, man, fuck that. I don't give a fuck. Like I said, unless the aliens got access to the corona vaccine, I don't care what they do.
They got
right. Unless they pay $25 an hour on the spaceship.
Right. What kind of opportunities y'all got?
Right.
Over there on serious speed, my nigga.
Man, we ain't paying no attention. Right.
Benefits.
They really don't want no drama with us though. They better not come down here. Right, we're going through too much.
We're going through too much.
Right, they don't want nothing we got down here.
They don't want nothing.
Y'all better stay where y'all at.
Yeah, it's just the same way. They said, something going on down
there. Nobody on the street.
We're gonna leave. Right, ain't nobody on the streets. What, air pollution's down?
Oh,
that's weird.
By a lot.
We can see everything.
By a lot.
Oh yeah.
And that's weird.
Down by a lot. I think in China,
and that's the way the universe works, bro. I mean, the universe will take pandemics and things of this nature to kind of reset, right, to heal itself.
To heal.
Absolutely. So, but not to get on. We over here talking about the Jetsons. Talking about robot dogs. But But yeah, let's get back on topic and talk about this money.
Well, you know what? I really think that as far as when we're talking about back to the central bank digital currencies, every every country is going to have one. It's even going to get to the level where, like, businesses, every bank is going to have their own. And where what comes in is that you need a settlement coin, a coin that's completely agnostic, that's not some country's coin or some, like, you know, bank's coin, because these, you still have to settle. Like, let's say you want to send $30 million to Mexico. Right now, with the SWIFT system, it's going to take you 2 to 7 days. And you know what? Do you know what each institution has to do when they want to send a large sum of money to another country? They have to have millions of dollars already in a bank that just sits there and doesn't do anything all year in both countries. Do you know how much money is just sitting that these institutions and banks cannot use and cannot touch? There's trillions of dollars that are locked up like that. Do you know what goes away when you start using digital currency? Those funds can go back to those companies. That's called liquidity. Those trillions of dollars go back into the economy. They go back into projects. They go back into whatever those companies' balance sheets. So that's another way digital currencies are going to turn everything upside down and can help.
Can I ask you a question, Charles?
The world economy.
And maybe, I'm not sure, you or Mo, if y'all know the answer to this. Please explain to me the really kind of what is like blockchain mining and people, you know what I'm saying, and how these coins are really backed and how they're weighted, if that makes sense.
I'm gonna do the best I can. I'm not an expert, but I do study this stuff and I try to get better at it.
So let's put that disclaimer. We gotta put that disclaimer out. We are
right.
experts,
and this is not financial advice.
This is not financial advice. We're just providing information to the community.
We're doing our best.
Based on what we know already.
We're doing our best.
And what we do already.
But blockchain is the technology. Blockchain is basically different nodes. A node is like basically a computer somewhere else in any other place. Millions of nodes that send information in small blocks.
Okay.
So that's what blockchain is, simplified, right? And how that connects to like mining. So mining, if you talk about like mining Bitcoin, so there's 21 million Bitcoin, period, right? When they say mining, number, they're really talking about solving equations. So in order to find or mine the next block of Bitcoin, computers have to solve these complex equations. And the people that do it are people that have these mining rigs or have mining farms set up. By the way, 85% of them are in China for Bitcoin. Just thought I'd throw that out there. So they basically say it's decentralized, Bitcoin is, but it's not, because China really controls it because they have the most. So when you talk about mining, and specifically with Bitcoin, because not all cryptocurrencies you mine, not all of them are mined. Bitcoin specifically you mine because the computers have to solve an equation to uncover more Bitcoin. And there's only a finite number, and that's why it keeps going up in value.
Okay.
If that answers the other question. Like, because there's a finite number, see, now juxtapose that with the dollar. There's not a finite number, bro.
And that did answer, because that really is what gives it weight, is the fact that it's a finite number. Yeah, that makes sense. Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Because it's rare. The whole lie that they have with diamonds. The diamonds actually ain't rare. But the idea of diamonds is diamonds are very rare, and so that's why they worth a lot. But diamonds aren't rare. Anyway, I don't know why I said that.
They're rare to mine in this country, but not on the country.
But the supply period in the world
out there in the world
are not rare. De Beers Diamonds has like 200,000 tons of diamonds locked away. So they keep them
And
rare. They try to keep
and you know
them
a
rare,
lot,
but they're not
a
rare.
lot of those diamonds are lab created now. So I mean, hell, they can make these shit in the lab. So I mean, fuck.
So it's just
Right,
what
right.
worth you put on it. Really, it's like the U.S.
And it's
dollar.
really it's almost its popularity is almost its value. I mean, that's really what value
So,
is
like,
with anything. I mean, if you talk about selling homes, I mean, it's really whatever somebody will pay for it is its value. You know, the market sets it. Yeah, the market sets itself.
There you go.
That's
Always.
Marketing and popularity. What are you saying, Mo?
There are the top 10 cryptocurrencies right now. I know everybody's always heard about Bitcoin, and that's the grandfather of the coin. We got Ethereum, XRP, Tether. There's Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV. These are traded just like stocks, right? These are traded just like stocks.
For sure.
They have their own crypto market in which you can make money by buying, selling, trading.
And speaking on that, guys, I love getting into, just black wealth building and wealth building for our people and generational wealth and everything else. So in terms of, one of the biggest generators of wealth is the stock market. So in terms of the black economy, do you think there is a way for us to take actual foundational black businesses, have them almost in a market type fund where you can invest in the market and basically our own stock market, basically a black stock market? Would there be a way, especially with the new digital currencies coming about, would there be a way to create some type of fund or pool of companies that we can invest in? Similar to a stock market, especially just like, Tulsa Real Estate Fund. Now you can do, the insecure investing $500, something small. Would there be a way to do that? Exactly. It's like an ETF, but we're not. It's almost like an ETF of penny stocks. I mean, for like a, but I don't know. It's almost like an ETF penny stocks because it's something that really it's companies that most likely can't be traded on the stock exchange, on the public exchange.
It'll kind of be like an over the counter ETF with penny stocks, basically. So, is how it would feel. Right?
I think we should.
I think that could be done. Like
exactly.
That would be us investing in ourselves, man.
That's what it is, and it's all the value, like you said earlier, Trey. We are the ones that put value on a thing, So it's all about the. And you know what?
Not to really,
in order to invest in that.
To switch gears too much, but I'm glad you said that, Mo. We got to start understanding as black people the value that just our influence has. We don't understand that the only reason certain things like the Grammys are popular is because we make them popular. All the Academy Awards, any kind of the award shows, we have to stop putting value on other people's award systems. Put value on our own things, bruh, and we'll make everything. We can make our own clothing lines popular. We can make our own things popular. I remember reading where, who was it? It was Dapper Dan. Y'all remember Dapper Dan from Harlem? And I think he got he got a deal with like Gucci or Louis Vuitton.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, very recently, after 20, 30 years. Yeah, after they sued him, after they sued him out of business, they finally. And I just remember a quote he said. He said, I took it from the Harlem streets, to the European runways or something like that. And I thought it was interesting because what he didn't understand was the Harlem streets. That was the runway. You understand what I'm saying? Paid in full. When y'all sit there rocking that shit in the hood and rocking, your Louis Vuitton and all that Gucci stuff he was making or whatever he was making, that was the runway. See, we put so much value on the European runway, not understanding that the European runway is looking at us like, oh man, those are the fly guys,
right?
And they in the Harlem streets.
Well, that's what
we create the trend.
Look, if you even up to today, if you look at the runways, everything they do is like a recreation of what we've done. If you look at Dapper Dan's stuff, the stuff that he was making, like Gucci wasn't making certain things they weren't making monogram jackets. Like Louis Vuitton wasn't making monogram jackets. He was taking the shit from the damn purses and making whole jackets.
Exactly.
They never did that until he did that. Like sneakers, they weren't doing that. All the stuff you see today that makes them popular and they're selling billions and like they're the only companies. Speaking of the economy, those luxury companies.
I was just telling my dad. I told him, he was asking me what stocks to buy. I was like, man, Dad, you should buy Louis Vuitton. I told him about Louis Vuitton. Like, yeah, you would think that shit's going down. Man, luxury, you got to realize, first of all, when you're dealing with real luxury, money gets money. There's a certain class of people that they only going to wear Rolex watches. There's a certain class, they don't wear a $200 watch just because the economy's bad. No, nigga, their cheapest watch is $10,000. There's a certain part. You see what I'm saying? There's a certain type of there's a certain part of the economy that really doesn't go down. When you get to a certain type of luxury, I mean, 1 billion versus 100 billion, you still a billionaire. You see what I'm saying? I mean, there's a certain level that it's always going to be buying. So that is very true.
And those are the people that are
exactly and still buying $10 million paintings and things. And that's just going back to the value, just what we're talking about. Just as Black people, we need to put more value in the things that we do. And it's not a diss to Dapper Dan, but it's just to show. It's just it's like you're sitting there looking at, like, even the CEO of Gucci is looking at you like you're Dapper Dan. But you're looking at, you see what I'm saying? The CEO of Gucci is looking at you like that. They're like, man, come man, right. Man, wow, like, man. You're Dapper Dan. You see what I'm saying? I'm like, Dapper Dan doesn't look at himself like that. Dapper Dan's looking at the CEO of Gucci like, oh man, wow, you're the CEO of Gucci. Instead of coming to the table like a boss, coming to the table like a partner, coming to the table like, oh yeah, I am Dapper Dan. Y'all better recognize who you're talking to.
Hey, that's kind of my problem. You make a great point.
Yeezy?
That's kind of my problem with Kanye, because he was so beholden of them. You remember he was first trying to get on with like Louis and trying to get on with those fashion houses. He got on and it made.
Right, I remember that's when he had one of his rants. He's like, the fashion houses, they won't let me in. Like, they won't do this. They won't do that.
Yeah, right. I was just like, yeah. And what was Sway saying?
Right. But how?
What was Sway saying? But bro, you Kanye West. You can. Right. That was the whole thing. That was their whole conversation. You know what? Their whole conversation, everything Sway was talking about was the same thing you're saying to us right now, Trey, about how we don't value our stuff enough. Because we value us, we can make us popping. We can make our brands popping. And I see a little tide turning. Because I see some stuff changing, but we still, by and large, in general, in the hood, you gotta have a Gucci. Right. I gotta have Fendi. I gotta have this. I gotta have,
Black luxury brands that are crazy. And then I'm sitting there looking at these dudes. I'm like, dude, who do you think is designing for Polo? Who do you think is designing for Tommy Hilfiger? How do you think they get it hot? Because they're Black. It's a Black 30-year-old in the head designer suite. Yeah, you think Polo's really designing shit? I mean, Ralph Lauren really designing shit? Come on, bro. It's a black dude younger than us. Yeah, head designer.
We gotta understand. We don't understand, and we gotta, like you said, build our own brand, start our own business, create an entity as ourselves. Kanye didn't see it, but we see it for him.
Right.
And it don't mean nothing if you don't see nothing see it for yourself.
Well, you know what? It's funny because I don't know whether Kanye was just. Maybe he saw something we didn't, because you know what? Now he is his own brand. Like, he stepped outside to a large degree. I think he still has partnerships with them, maybe, but he stepped outside of that. And Yeezy and his brand, it's $1 billion brand. Like, it's now. Yeah. But did he have to? Yeah. Did he feel like he had to do that to then step over them and step outside of them?
But that I think it helped to kind of cultivate that idea of, man, am I not good enough?
Oh,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Let me show them. It's kind of like that fire, fuel in the fire right there.
Hey Mo, and then they gave his homeboy the gig that he wanted. What's the guy's name that does Off-White? That's Kanye's dude. That was Kanye's assistant and designer on his stuff. Y'all know about the whole Off-White stuff that's so popular? He got the partnership. They brought him in to head the Louis Vuitton brand. What's his name? Don B or Don? I don't keep up with these dudes. But anyway,
I don't know.
yeah,
Right.
I think just as a diss to Kanye, they gave his boy that was working for him the spot that he wanted within Louis Vuitton. Was it Louis Vuitton? Yeah, within Louis Vuitton.
That's funny. He got his boy on
Right.
there. But you're right, Trey. Louis V right now is $75.12.
They're not tripping.
It's definitely. But Louis
It's
V is
LVMH,
not just Louis V.
Oh yes, LVMH or whatever.
It's
What is it?
MOët. Yeah, LVMH. They have MOët
Right.
and they have Hennessy.
All luxury. Oh, that Hennessy.
All
that's
Right,
us.
MOE.
That's it. But all of it's us.
Yeah, it
You know what I'm
is.
saying?
It is.
MOët.
Yeah.
MOët. All of
Straight
it's
up, it
us.
is. It is.
We support these. We support these companies.
Right.
So if we just have it in ourselves.
And you know
can
what?
do
I
this.
think
We can build
y'all
that.
should check out Romeo Miller, Master P's son. It's funny that we're talking about this. One of his latest posts, like he just posted this like a couple days ago, talking about he has ramen noodles. They have their own ramen noodle company. They have their own tennis shoes. I love the way he was like, man, we have to support ourselves. He said, y'all don't ask, y'all don't talk down about the ramen noodle dude. You don't even know who owns ramen noodles. You don't even know the dude, but he got $1 billion, $1 trillion industry now going. He said, yeah, and they're black owners. He said, and there are a lot of people that are the face of these companies, but they don't really own it. He said, we really own these companies. There was another post, Romeo's over here he has his own athletic shoes. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. He was like, man, go ahead and buy some. He was like, I just think it's so important for us to really value that shit. That's why I loved even Triple B, Big Baller brand. I just for the spirit of it. Just for the spirit of it.
Them.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Exactly. Whatever you think about it.
The dad was
He
annoying
got
as
your
hell.
attention.
So yeah.
He got the job done. I mean, hell, nigga, when a
But he got
McDonald's
your
commercial
attention.
comes on, it gets annoying as fuck
whatever
too.
you think, he
But they
got
get
your
the job
attention.
done. You understand what I'm saying? The advertisement gets the job done. You see what I'm saying? Commercials, we turn them off all the time, but they get the job done. They're there for a reason. McDonald's still has commercials on TV for a reason.
Exactly. They done their job. You've seen it already.
You understand what I'm saying? So I think we just got to value our own things, man, and that's really where we'll be. But it's kind of hard, even concentrating on business when we got crazy things. What's my man who was running and kind of
Yeah, we gotta give that some time.
Right.
Amaud, what's his name?
Right. Rest in peace to that
Arbery. Arbery.
His name was Amaud Arbery. Yeah.
Yeah, that was back in February, man. Back in February, he was jogging, and a couple white supremacists saw him jogging and called 911 and said, "Hey, there's a guy jogging, and we think he was looking inside a house that was under construction." Like what? And they said,
which is not illegal.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Let's just break it down. He was jogging in this neighborhood
that they didn't think he should have been in,
and he did exactly. But it was maybe a neighboring neighborhood that lives just right next to his. He was jogging in the neighborhood, and there are houses, all kinds of constructions, properties being built all over town in your city, in my city. Right. And I can't lie. I've gone.
Honestly, I'm a real estate agent. I do it all the time. I love to see what new developments are going on.
I think it's fun to do. I jog in the neighborhood. I jog in the neighboring neighborhood. So this hits home.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Definitely.
This hits home.
Oh, it was straight up and down lynching. It was a lynching, bro. 3 dudes, and it looked like it was premeditated because 2 guys, they had blocked off the road up there with their truck, and it was a guy that was trailing them, the one that had the camera, that they said he was there so he couldn't get away or some shit like that. So you see them corner the guy. Yeah, you see him corner him, and I'm happy he started fighting back. But three dudes, you unarmed with a gun. And the saddest part about all of this is that
I know that's what made me bring it up. That's what made me think of it. Right.
That was February. And you know what? And the only reason they were arrested or charged is because in our community and in the black media, we started going crazy, sharing this, talking about it, and turning up and getting on code.
It definitely helped.
So I think they're trying to let
right.
The pot.
And you know what? We need to understand as black people that we are our own little, small, mini group, nation, whatever you want to call us. We're our own small people. We have to start conducting business with other people, even in our own communities, in our own cities, in our own states. We have to start conducting business with them, almost like the United Nations, almost like you need to sit here and have sanctions on people. Just like you have sanctions on China, yes, the black people, okay, that's how you want to treat us. Well, we're going to have sanctions. We're going to withhold different money from you. Yeah. We're going to funnel different money to this, do this, do this. We need to have agendas and plans and put things in place to where we can fight back, because that's really the only thing that's going to help us. That's the only way. I mean, going and marching in the streets and singing, we shall overcome. That shit ain't doing nothing. Now, it has its place. It has its place. You are correct.
It brings attention, and that's why this took so long. That's why this took so long, because of the coronavirus. We weren't able to bring attention to it because people wanted to get out and march, and that's what marching does. I can't lie. Marching helps.
I don't think it was. I don't think it was the march that did this. I know
it's not the march.
I think the marching had its place in history, and I think it's time.
Now,
I don't think you should march unless
now let me say this, Charles. I do kind of agree with Mo on what he's saying in terms of there is a place for it. See, the military has different positions. Some people fly airplanes called the Air Force. Some people on the ground in the Army. You got to realize there needs to. And it can even be, just maybe our younger people, maybe, 19 to 25 or something. We have them, they go out with the signs and everything else. There also needs to be somebody on their heads legally, militarily. Like, somebody should be at the father and son. Yeah, somebody should be at their house. I mean, it should be a multifaceted strategy. Exactly.
Like a multifaceted strategy.
Because what it does is the marching brings international attention as well.
From all angles.
It brings news and international attention. See, you have to sway when you're dealing with a country and running a nation. You have to sway media on a global basis. You understand what I'm saying? That way, other nations will be behind you when you make your move. When you make your attack, you'll have other nations and you have allies. So we have to start creating sanctions against people. Like, we can't just sit here and be, terrorized in the streets. Like, no, there will be sanctions put against you. Yes, my people would defend me. Absolutely.
Right. I see your point.
So
I see your point.
What people did in the 60s is important.
Marching and that aspect
because
of
we
it
haven't had the other angles.
50 years. It hasn't really worked.
No.
What it did 50, 40 years ago is it got some legislation going. It got some so basically, if you're marching without power, then I don't see the purpose. I mean, I can see where it brings attention to some things.
Has to be a reason.
But if you're marching without, if we're gonna march, then
and honestly,
we need some we need to be strapped. We need to have a show of power, and that's the only reason.
I think our first, of course, everybody needs to have their own weapons and everything. But the way I feel about that is almost kind of taking what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was talking about. And of course, he had his own economic plan. But the Nation of Islam doesn't carry guns, and I'm not saying don't carry a gun or anything like that. But you don't have more bullets than your oppressor.
The fruit of Islam does, and the thing. This is the thing. It's not about like firepower for firepower, but the only reason, the solitary reason we keep getting beat up and lynched and done wrong and killed and all of this is because we do not exact any type of consequences.
And I definitely agree with it.
This doesn't happen. These are all soft targets. These are all soft targets.
Yeah, like the Charleston 9
the people that get killed, they be soft. They're soft targets. Like or somebody alone in your hood.
Yeah, but they ain't running up on no soldiers. They ain't running up on.
You got 3-4 weapons on you.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. But because they know their consequences.
That's how they do.
Because they know their consequences.
That's what they do, though.
Now, what white supremacy does is if it was reversed. If it was reversed, that dude's house.
Oh, of course.
Those the son and the dad, their house would have been firebombed. Like, those are consequences.
Right.
Like they exact consequences, and I can respect that.
Now,
and we need to get back to that.
And then, no. I know
Like,
you're promoting self-defense, and I am in agreement with you. All I'm saying is, I believe it's a multifaceted approach. Like I was saying, one of the first consequences is an economic consequence. We can definitely go to blows. But yeah, let's see, because just like the Roman army, to defeat you would just simply circle your city and cut off your supply chain, and now you can't get food in your city, and you're gonna have to surrender to us. So, you understand?
Oh, I agree with that 100%. That's a code. That means we have to have a code. So the only thing they understand is blood and money, and those are the two consequences that me and you were just talking about. Blood and money. Either
right, and I remember
either you coming to blows, or either you hit in the pocket.
So I don't know what you all are thinking about this case with Amaud, because one of the assailants was a retired police officer in Glenn County. So who do you think the police are going to protect? You think they're going to protect him, or are they going to protect people who are trying to bomb his house, or come at him? The black people in the neighborhood. They are going to protect their own. So the thing we need to do, the marching is important to me. It brings the attention. We talked about that. It's all approach. We coming on all fronts. That's what we're doing. We're doing social media. We're doing marching. We're doing television interviews. We are at their front door. You know what I'm saying? So all of this is important. But what we got to realize is we cannot fight fire with fire. It doesn't work. We show them that we strong, and we're not gonna put up with nothing. But at the end of the day, like, this person is a retired police officer, the police are gonna protect him. That blue code, the blue shield, or whatever you want to call it, the police are gonna protect him first. So I have to kind of disagree a little bit, but I think we kind of have the same idea. The biggest thing is hit them where it hurts. And just like in the 60s where they marched, they hit them in the pockets with the bus boycotts. That's what we got to do. But today's time,
right.
I mean, people can still march, but today's time, these young kids, they hit the social media. That's what they do, and that's how they get the word out.
That's what changed things with this case is social media. But
it does it faster. It does it faster.
Yeah, first of all, it wasn't them. They went to the house. That was right. Like, it wasn't what got them there is social media. You know what I'm saying?
But the thing is, they couldn't get there because of the restrictions and the law that was brought out. They had the coronavirus kept people at home, so that's why they didn't initially go out and protest.
In February?
Yeah.
Nah.
Come February, March.
Nah, it was February when I think it was February 3rd this happened. It had to build momentum.
And I think also,
I think that's really what happened. Maybe it would have gone a little earlier, but it had to build momentum.
So it happened at the end of February. It happened February 20th.
Oh, 20th.
And also you got to realize, I think the video just came out as well.
Corona outbreak.
Yeah.
So
the video.
That's what stopped.
The whole month later. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Oh, the video just came out.
There goes social media. So there's the outrage from the video. I mean, it was outrage.
But see, and this is the beautiful thing about a code, because honestly, the dominant society, they really just move on a code. See, when you move on a code, you'll have people who are the social media people. They'll hit, because you have to have a media presence. That's what the whole international thing, even with the marching. So yeah, you'll have your social media people. They'll hit social media with the right frequency and the right tune. At the same time, you'll have your street marchers hitting the streets with the same right tune and the same tone. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what a beautiful code will do. The only thing I've always thought about the code and how it comes about, the only thing is, I believe it's sad, it only comes about through destruction. You know how sometimes they'll be like, the only time the family ever gets together is when there's a funeral or something. Well, tragedy always brings people together. That's why even they use tragedy like 9/11 to bring countries together and have a rallying cry behind something. So it's sad that, the universe or whatever uses tragic situations. So that's really the only way we're really truly going to be able to turn and get that value that we're talking about, just to bring it back to value and how to value ourselves and value our businesses and value our organizations. It's only going to come through pain. You understand what I'm saying? Right.
It's like being united in war. It's like wartime. The only time people get together. Kind of.
Exactly. That's why they create.
Everybody becomes really patriotic.
That's why they create so many wars, right?
Same thing in our community at large.
Just like when this COVID first hit. you didn't hear of anything like this happening. Like when it first hit, I think in January, beginning of January, you
Right.
didn't hear a lot of this. It was a lot of cohesiveness about defeating Corona.
Right.
And now people realize, they're thinking this Trump mentality. Oh, it's not real. It's not this and that. We're not wearing masks in the
Right.
CDC. Who cares? We're going out in the streets. We're going to the beach.
Right.
We're getting tans. We can go back to our usual way of living and the usual way of treating black folks.
But yeah, you know, I think they started using
Exactly.
it, like especially in New York, they started using it like stop and frisk, because you had like, you know what I'm saying, that you had like one community that's 4 miles away from the next, where you got a park full of white folks not socially distancing themselves, and then people just kind of out on their
And honestly, I think that's why we're going to have to start taking control of the narrative, because we sit there and have let them sit there call COVID. Now it's almost like it's a black disease. All the black people have it. So now you can kind of give leeway to those stop and frisk. Like, oh, I got to stop and frisk you because you might have COVID, or some random shit, or you need to come on and be put in this hospital and be put on a ventilator. Next thing you know, we were killing you. So I think we have to have a place where we can set our own narrative, which is good. We're taking social media and using that, but you know, we just got to take it a step further and really, you know, we don't look at ourselves as our own nation is the problem. We don't look at ourselves as our own people. So
yeah, we've been individualized
even
so hard over the last like 40, 50, 60 years. You know, we used to have more of a code. Well, I mean, I'm just saying, like, since Jim Crow, because, you know, even at like right after or during Jim Crow, there was even more of a code, we kind of moved together. And don't get me wrong, I don't think we had to be monolithic, but there was more of, like, I think that certain thing has happened in just the last 50 years with this individualization of black people. It's like me. Because it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that during Jim Crow and segregation and stuff. It wasn't just me. I decide I'm gonna do it.
And I think that's the blessing that's going to come out of all this, you know. So we just kind of got to be steadfast, you know, keep starting these businesses, and also support other brothers who are starting businesses, and you know, just boss moves with business acumen. You know how it is.
That's right. Boss moves with business acumen.
That's it.
Yeah. And I think that's a good place for us to go ahead and wrap it up, guys. It's been a great conversation. You know, we got heavy at the end, but we had to talk about that, and we got to talk about.
Got to get off our chest, man.
And you know, the way in which we need to proceed forward. Yeah, man, y'all be safe out there, brother. For real.
Absolutely. Peace.
And protect yourself. Go ahead and visit BMBAinvesting.com. We have a contact form there. It tells you a little bit more about our business, but we are seeking businesses that
absolutely
invest.